Hey everyone, you're with Tesla Tom. Thanks so much for joining us on Ludicrous Feed. I've got a very special guest with me today, Carl from Hyundai. Thanks for joining us today, Carl.
Pleasure, Tom.
So Carl, this is the 2019 Hyundai Kona EV,
It is.
brand new to the Australian market. Well, should we go for a test drive?
Sure. Well, this is the launch edition that you're in. So it comes in three different ranges. You have your launch edition, then you have your elite model, which includes your sat nav, plus it also tells you where all your charging stations are on the map. And then you also get like a premium sound system, and that will be the model that we'll continue to run with once the launch edition is sold out. And then you can get into the Highlander range, which will unlock plenty more features than what you're sitting in, like electric seating, for example, which you're adjusting, heads-up displays, heated seats, air-conditioned seats or ventilated seats, pretty much all the bells and whistles. So what you do is you put your foot on the brake, and this is essentially your drive selector. And
very nice. And the indicators are on the right?
yes.
Yep, okay.
So I'll get you to knock back your regeneration. You're on number 3, which is going to be a pretty heavy braking. It's on the right hand. So if you kick it down to 0 to start, you take your foot off the brake now, the car just coasts. It's better than neutral. There's no transmission that causes any sort of friction or pullback. So I find on flat surfaces, just leaving it on 0 and just letting the car coast as much as possible is the most effective way to drive this particular car. Any sort of downhills, you can choose between 1 or 2, and then for those really big steep hills, you want to select regeneration level 3. There is an automatic mode as well. I find that just manually taking control is actually a bit of a game, really, and I find it to be the most effective way as well.
So on 0 is basically like a normal automatic car, really? Okay. I'm just going to put my seat back just a touch. Okay, where should I go? Right or left?
Go right.
Let's go right. First impressions, it's very smooth, which is nice. Obviously very quiet, being an electric car.
Yeah, you can hear a little bit of like a whirring sort of noise in the background. It sounds like almost like a spaceship. That's your vehicle electronically sound simulated engine noise. You can actually disable that sort of whirring noise, but the benefit of that is it basically allows customers or other people walking around to hear the vehicle around you.
And you can hear that from the outside as well?
Yeah, it's a lot louder on the outside, and it's just a safety thing.
Okay. I'm going to try putting the regen up just to see. Okay, so yeah, it feels like it's a bit harder.
A bit full. The regeneration one feels just like any other car, really. Number 2 would be good for like a hill like this. It's very small, but when you take your foot off, it should still pull you down the hill a little bit. And then number 3 is pretty heavy. That's for like your big freeway hills or something really steep. So it does have like your basic standard features like your adaptive cruise control. So the car will speed up, slow down all by itself, pending traffic in front of you. So if you set your cruise for say 110 and someone's only doing 100, your car will slow down by itself. It does have an emergency autonomous braking system as well. So if you do have an obstacle in front of you and you're just not paying attention for whatever reason or having a medical episode, the car will do 3 things. The first thing is an audio warning. A second stage would be braking, light braking, and the third stage will be just 100% brake force to completely avoid an accident or at least minimize the damage. You get your lane keeping assist, which you'll see on your heads up. You'll see that there's a little symbol beside your speedometer on the bottom left of the second screen. If that symbol goes from white to green, you'll feel the car actually taking control of the steering wheel a little bit to keep you in the lines. Blind spot monitoring systems as well.
Look, I must say, it drives very well. And having 400 odd kilometers of range, like, there's no range anxiety driving around. That's plenty of range for most people, I would have thought, day to day. And this energy flow here, I can see.
Yeah, so that's just telling you basically on this car when you're using the battery and when the wheels are putting power back into the battery.
Is this all-wheel drive?
No, this is just a 2-wheel drive car. And it's actually a front-wheel drive. It's like a direct drive. So basically right from the engine straight to the wheels. But if I put you into an eco mode here, you'll see now how much regeneration you're actually, how many k's you're actually regenerating.
Okay, yes. I like that.
Which is a pretty useful little tool.
It's adding like, I see it's adding how many k's each time
That's right.
it's pulling back. Yeah, that's handy if you're into numbers. How does one activate the cruise control, out of interest?
So you hit the cruise control button on the steering wheel in the top right.
This one.
Yep. And that activates cruise control on. So now with the little button right below the button you just pressed,
This one.
you can press down to set it. And now we're engaged in cruise control. Now, if you hit the bottom left button, you can set the distance that you'd like to follow the car in front of you.
Okay, so you can toggle between close and far.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. What have been some of the reactions from customers?
Most people are just really surprised on how much it drives like a normal car. People come in who have never driven an electric car with the expectation that it's going to drive different, or you need to work the controls differently, or it's going to be gutless. Which for most people who have driven an electric car know that electric cars are certainly not gutless. They do not lack performance at all. And you'll see that when I find a bit of a spot to put it into the sport mode.
Yeah, that's something I'm realizing too. It feels like I'm just driving a car, like a normal car. And that's awesome.
Yeah, and for some reason that's the biggest surprise for a lot of people, is how just normal it feels.
Especially with the regen off. You don't have to have regen if you don't want to.
That's correct, yeah. And like I said, on the flat surfaces I find regen 0 to be the best mode.
How many Kona EVs have you guys sold so far?
We've taken so many orders. I can't even remember how many orders that we've taken.
Well, that's good. So there is some demand, obviously.
There is definitely demand. It's more or less just a waiting game. I think Hyundai underestimated the market a little bit. Each mode has different little stats. I mean, if you're in a sport mode, I guess technically you're not really caring about the consumption. But if you are in your, like I said, your eco mode, you'll have all those stats that show your regen, because you're trying to drive it as best as you can and really get the most out of the battery. And then comfort mode is just basically a bit of balance of both modes. There's a little bit of performance. It takes off like a normal car, whereas eco mode can be a bit sluggish on takeoff. But you're just trying to use as much energy as the least amount you need. And then sport mode is just 0 to 100 in power.
Yeah, why not? We've got to prove to the world that electric cars can do the job.
Absolutely.
So what's the clearance on this car?
It's got 158 millimeter ground clearance, which is just a little bit under your traditional SUV frame, but enough ground clearance to allow you to mount a curb or go up a steep ramp, say at a Westfield, and not scrape the front of the car. It's pretty convenient.
Tell us a little bit about the all the mod cons of the car.
You'll have your 8-inch screen with your satellite navigation, bring up all your charging stations, point of interest, and you can even program your own charging station. So there's a bit of a community with Hyundai and trying to share their charging stations, just have a less carbon footprint. So for example, I can program, say if I had a charging station at home, I can upload my details from my address, and I can allow it to show up on the charging station. So anyone driving by an electric car can stop into my home or my business and use the charging station for free. So the more people that get on board, the less anxiety people will be having on planning longer trips. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is included with that as well. Your EV mode on the screen will give you some more finer details. You can even have your charge management as well. I can tell the car to, say I get home at 8 o'clock, but I'm still within a peak hour of energy consumption or usage at my home. I can program it to charge at 1 in the morning rather than just charging as soon as I plug it in. Where you're charging on an off-peak mode now.
Yeah, that's clever.
So that comes in built. There's other details like your energy, your range. This is the live feed of your range, so you're basically, I can tell you're negative kilowatts, so that tells me that you're actually regenerating that amount. And then when you're consuming, you can tell how much you're actually using, so I know that we're regenerating, well, nothing now, but now we're using it a little bit.
And see, I'm a bit of a stats nerd, so I'd love this kind of
Yeah, and this is all live. And then your charging stations, this tells you, roughly the amount of time it's going to take you to charge. I mean, we've got a pretty full charge at the moment. So if we were to put this up on a fast charge, we're looking at about an hour to charge it to full.
Which really, you don't need to charge 100% really.
You really don't. And once you get up to 90%, it turns into basically a trickle charge anyway. So you can charge from, say, 10% all the way up to 80% probably within an hour and a half to 2 hours.
It's something I've noticed with my Tesla, that no matter what percentage I'm at below, say, 60%, to get to 80%, it's about the same amount of time. And then the last 20 is like painfully slow.
I think that's just maybe due to heating or concerns with overcharging at that higher speeds with the heat that it would generate.
I've just noticed getting off the mark in off the roundabout there was quite slow in the eco mode.
In the eco mode, yeah, but if you change the modes, obviously we can
That's interesting.
change that launch speed.
Yeah.
And then this is just the amount of carbon dioxide reduction. So people who are really into saving the environment, this would be the page for them. And then there's a driving history as well. So if you're into all the stats, there's some good information here.
Yeah, that's really good.
So that's basically your EV mode. The rest of it is basically just like an everyday car.
And that's the key to transition, I think, just people to feel like it's a normal car. Really.
Yeah, that's correct.
Apart from the fuel source, obviously. And the best thing is we don't have to go to one of these places.
That's right. I mean, maybe to get a bottle of water, that's about it.
Okay, well, thanks very much for allowing me to test drive the Kona EV.
My pleasure.
Yeah, no, thanks so much. I think our viewers will appreciate that. And thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming up.
No worries. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, happy charging. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being part of the energy revolution. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe to stay up to date with our latest videos. Happy charging!